We're talking about the evolution of customer experience. Or is it its destruction? It is changing so much. We have to be really conscious of what we're looking at here, because the history of CX, we started, earlier customer service, personal sales, advertising. There was a lot of activity really before it was called CX. Then it was quality focus and TQM, Six Sigma, customer satisfaction, started to be a bigger part of what we were looking at. And then in the 90s, when things really we started talking about it as CX, customer experience. The digital era was upon us. Internet, e-commerce, online surveys became the norm. That was probably the last big change in our industry, if you will. Then it was around the experience economy. We were really kind of wrapping out of that into the 2010s, omni-channel, data-driven, a lot of focus there. And then, of course, we know what's going on now. Automation, AI. Personalization and customization being the key focus. I call it situationalization. It's not just it's customizing and personalizing based on the situation in real time. And then there's obviously focus on sustainability and ethical CX. But we are facing this change. Who here knows someone in customer experience that was looking for a job over the last year? My network is full of them. I was trying to help as many of them as I could. But what we're finding is over the last year plus, more CX professionals have lost their job than ever before. It was a major shift. And in fact, I was talking to the conference producers and they said it was hard to find people with CX still in their title to invite to this conference. It's a big deal. And a lot of the companies that I talk to when in doing research around this, they're going through and they're saying, well, the future is tech, so we're going to take the CX responsibility and we're going to give it to IT or another department. This transition is real and it's happening. Now, financial services, luckily, is still more stable than most of the other industries out there from a customer experience perspective. Others, I worked in telco for 15 years, complete change. They were never really great at customer experience in the first place in telco, but now it's really kind of become this change and this challenge, and those are looking for it. So there are three pillars of change that we really have to think about going on right now that we have to be prepared for. The first is people, aligning our people. The past was really around, divide and conquer from a business standpoint. Departmental silos, much more common, still very common in a lot of cases, but it was a lot of focus on tasks, channel and task. I'm going to do the best I can when they call me or when they go to my website. The future, though, integrated purpose. Customer centricity now has to be the norm. We have to understand our purpose together. We have to understand the shared strategies that we have to drive change, and ultimately we need to focus less on the task and more on the journey. We're going to talk about a lot of different journeys and journey work throughout the day today and tomorrow. So the first pillar is people, getting people more aligned to understand, because it takes everyone at a company to create a great experience. Everyone. The next is process. The past. More about surveys, more about NPS, customer effort score, CSAT, more about, siloed data stuck in our systems that we couldn't access, reactively trying to make improvements well after the customer has already had a bad experience. The future, though, is about its understanding and predicting customer experience. Predict effort, don't ask them how their effort was. Predict it through the data. Integrate the data, cloud data warehouses, data lakes, everything else that we need to bring this content together. And making proactive improvements built into the processes. Recover before it goes wrong. Intercept what you see in the data is going to be a bad experience and change it in line and in flow. That's where we're going. The third pillar is platforms. A lot of people say technology. I use the term platforms because it represents multiple technologies working for one single purpose. So understanding the experience platform, the past, I'm going to use specific technology for a specific purpose, which means I have to go get a whole bunch of different technologies to bring together. CRM, really focusing on, that's going to be the way we integrate. That's the way we're going to focus our opportunities and our tools. A lot of standardizations and repeatability. That was the past. The future, integrated technology platforms. Leveraging technology that, again, is going to work together and is going to change in flow what's happening. AI. I mean, we're going to talk a lot about those two letters over the next 2 days. It's invading everything we do, but AI is a key to that because it drives then personalized experiences, situationalization. It drives that future. So I got a question for you. Based on what we just went through, to some executives, who's more important in the future of experience, CX or IT? That's what we're facing. The folks that don't understand it. Now again, financial services being better off than most industries, but executives that don't get it, they know it's important to have good experiences. They're kind of like, duh. They don't understand what we do every day in driving that experience, understanding it, analyzing it, prioritizing the work, and making change. Partly because it's been sometimes a struggle to prove the ROI of a great experience. And I've seen that a lot, right? We've seen layoffs over the last year, and yet our CX performance is some of the worst it's ever been. You look at most global or national metrics, they're in decline over this last period of time. There's obviously more reasons than that, but that's a big part of what we're seeing today is this decline. So you know that the ROI is there because when CX is maybe deprioritized and performance goes down, you know there's ROI to get to, but sometimes it's hard to figure out in our own data. So again, we're going to talk about this together. We have to evolve. The CX industry, CX practitioners, CX companies, being customer-centric has to evolve because otherwise, if we don't evolve, we may end up looking at the destruction of CX. It may end up coming out of it, and it still may end up coming out of it called something else completely. Customer experience may become experience analytics, or it may become, some other coined phrase. We don't really know what's going to happen. We just know we have to understand it. We have to evolve because, again, people. There are no better folks in an organization than CX teams to be connectors, influencers, collaborators, to drive the right conversation across everybody else who has their blinders on and is focused only on their task. No better than CX to change hearts and minds about the customer, driving that opportunity. But we have to take the responsibility to be those connectors, to be those influencers every day. Process. We've got to get better at deeper analytics. We kind of have to be quasi-data scientists now to prove the ROI because it's all about the data, and so therefore you've got to do the deep study of the data and understand it, or at least be the influencer and partner that can drive that activity within your business. We have to predict what's going to happen before it happens. Put the card up to our head. Okay, that's probably an old reference to Johnny Carson. But we got to predict what's going to happen with our customers because they're going to expect it now. If I'm heading down a negative path, change it for me before I get to the end. We're going to have to be able to calculate the ROI, the true return on investment. For 1 point improvement in X metric, we get what in revenue, what in churn reduction. Again, the data is there, and we'll talk about some of that data as we go through today. And then lastly, we've got to take more responsibility of the platform strategy. Now, IT may still run and build, and they will execute the platforms, but we need to drive the strategy around the technology to be used. Why? How? What are we going to execute on? We have to orchestrate journeys. There's journey mapping, there's journey analytics, journey orchestration. You create the strategy, the plan, and the tactics to execute on the right kind of activities in the right order. Drive and orchestrate that, finding the pain points before they happen and make sure that's proactively being removed. We have to look at and understand use cases. One of the biggest things over my career has always been this challenge of the business being able to explain to IT what they want, why they want it, but not how to build it. We've got to be that for our organizations. We got to work across, again, the departments, help them translate the needs they have into use case, design requests, et cetera, so that IT can say, all right, I know what you're trying to do. Because again, IT doesn't understand the human experience. They understand tech. So we need to make sure we're providing that. And then lastly, we have to humanize the technology. Who here has used a chatbot? All right, quite a few people. Who has had a horrible experience with said chatbot? Okay. The reality is AI is the worst it's ever going to be right now. It will only get better, but it's not good right now. So we have to humanize it, and we have to understand that it's not about chasing shiny new technology because I can save a buck. It's about orchestrating experience using said technology so that if it isn't good, I can immediately get to somebody to get a solution. Anybody overwhelmed? Anybody kind of like, ooh, what are we doing? Where are we going? Again, we're all in this together. That's the beauty of it. And Global X Day or CX Day is an opportunity to talk about it. But let's be honest with ourselves. Let's not, push this behind and say, hey, I've got a great job. Everything's perfect for me when the industry is changing. This is the opportunity we have to take the lead. Because the reality is, are you ready? Who's ready to migrate, evolve their CX understanding at their organization? Who's ready? Come on. Who's ready? Let's go. Cheer. Here's the good news. We're going to spend 2 full days talking about how to do that. And we have got great speakers joining us up on stage in panels and fireside chats. We are going to have all sorts of opportunities to learn. Now, I also want to say, we are in this transition. CX is kind of on the rocks. So a little plug here. If you want to be part of this conversation, I'm creating just a pro bono community that we're just going to look at and say, let's have this dialogue more often than just at conferences. Let's keep this dialogue going of where do we need to go? How is it changing as it's changing? So sign up for the mailing list. We'll be part of this, and it's just an opportunity, again, to share and learn with each other.